Alzheimer's was discovered by Dr. Alzheimer's, who was a German psychiatrist in 1906. Dr. Alzheimer found out that he had a patient who did not necessarily fit the definition of a psychiatric condition or illness, and so he followed the patient to her death. Once the patient died, he dissected parts of the brain, and he discovered that the brain had different structures, what we know now as plaques and tangles. And at that point, he realized that he was looking at a new disease, which was named after him. The brain is a very delicate organ. It sits at the top of the head inside of the cranial cavity, and it rests in cerebrospinal fluid, and it's inside of like a pouch, so to speak. Brain is a very delicate organ and has the consistency of pudding. Therefore, any hard hit to the head could potentially damage the brain and cause an injury. Every function of the body is pretty much ruled by the brain. The brain is a machinery that makes us who we are and what we are, so it makes the body function. Every function from digestion, circulation, to movement, walking, talking, blinking, eating, all of those functions are ruled by the brain. The difference between a healthy brain and a diseased brain is basically a normal brain and on an average adult is about 3 pounds. And as a result of being diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease, one of the first things that happens is that the brain begins to atrophy and lose a lot of white matter. So by the end of the disease, when the disease has run its course, the brain is half of the original size and weight. Alzheimer's disease causes changes in memory, behavior, and thinking. The disease is progressive and fatal, and until now there's no cure. The most identifiable signs of Alzheimer's are short-term memory loss, disruption in thinking, problems with behavior, and spatial visual issues. For example, a person who has Alzheimer's disease isn't able to measure distances. Therefore, for example, we see older adults who have cars that are in mint condition and they've been driving them for decades, and we see other older adults who have nicks and bumps and dents in their cars because they are unable, as a result of the Alzheimer's disease, to measure the distance between objects. So driving, walking around, and as a result of that, they also have a history of falls. Dementia is a condition that is caused by a disease. In the majority of cases, the disease that causes dementia is Alzheimer's, although the second most common is vascular dementia, and the third most common is mixed dementia. There are several diseases or neurodegenerative diseases that cause dementia, such as Parkinson's disease, ALS. There are a couple of areas in Latin America where the disease has mutated. For example, in Puerto Rico, the disease is also mutated, and it causes early onset Alzheimer's disease as well. It is also the case in Colombia, where there is a very large family with what we know is an early onset type of Alzheimer's disease as well. In the state of Jalisco, there is a gene that has mutated, and it causes what we call early onset Alzheimer's disease, which is traced to one single source. In this case, the disease affects people early on in their lives. For example, may start at the age of 30 to 38, and by the time the person reaches their 50th birthday, their disease has run its course and has affected not only that person in the family. This is also an inherited gene, which means that every child born to the couple has a 50% chance of developing the disease. In order to prevent Alzheimer's disease, it is important that we make some changes in a lifestyle. It's very important that we are more conscious about our nutritional habits. For example, we're incorporating more fish, vegetables, grains, beans, olive oil, such as like Mediterranean diet, and avoid eating fatty meats, especially red meat, incorporating more exercise, and also try to sleep a little bit better, 8 to 10 hours a day, and also avoid refined foods. People can do several things to stay healthier longer. The 4 pillars of health would be important. Eating a healthy diet, sleeping 8 to 10 hours a day, exercising, and also brain stimulation through social interaction and learning new things. It is important to sleep 8 to 10 hours a day because at night, when we are in deep sleep, that's when the brain cleans itself of all the stuff that has accumulated throughout the day. So sleeping is very important. So a person that has insomnia, basically the brain is not resting, there isn't enough sleep, there is no profound sleep or REM, which then causes the brain to continually be stimulated and does not have the ability to clean itself. Alzheimer's disease is a disease that affects the patient or the individual with the disease, the family, the community, and the community at large. Age and ethnicity do not have a factor. However, the majority of people with a diagnosis of Alzheimer's disease are Latinos. And as the community grows in the United States, we are looking at higher and higher levels or numbers of diagnosis of Alzheimer's disease in the Latino community. The bad part about it is that we don't have enough Latinos who are participating in any study at this point. The clinical studies are pretty safe. Every study has its own risks. The risks to the studies in Alzheimer's are minimal. Mostly it's limited to maybe mental discomfort of the participant or adverse reaction to medication or secondary effects of the medication. It is important for people to participate in research studies, especially in the Latino community. We are actually one of the communities that has least participation in research, but we are one of the communities that is most affected by the Alzheimer's disease. So it is important that we participate so that researchers can find out how the disease affects the Latino community and also develop treatments and ways of controlling the disease or even curing the disease.